All right, everybody, let's look at lesson 8, which is scientific notation. Scientific notation is a way to represent large or small numbers. For example, the mass of the hydrogen atom is way too many zeros and then 167 grams. 2 grams of hydrogens contain all of those zeros. Okay, so instead of writing out all of those zeros, it's so much easier to write something in scientific notation. So there are a few ways for you to remember how to write scientific notation. So scientific notation is written as the product of two numbers, a coefficient and a 10 raised to a power. The coefficient is the number that's written first, is always a number from 1 to 9. So for example, if we were to take this big long number and write it in scientific notation, we would have to have a coefficient, which would be the 1.6, times 10 to a power. The power is minus 24. If we were to take this huge number and convert it into scientific notation, we would have 6.02 as the coefficient times 10 raised to that power. So how do we convert from expanded form, which is the form with all of the zeros either before the number or after the number, into scientific notation? So first, for numbers greater than 1, you have to move the decimal place until there's one digit to its left. The number of places moved is how many exponents you're going to have. So for example, let's look at this. So we have to move the decimal that's right at the end here to the left until there's one digit left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's one digit to the left of that decimal. And then the number of places we moved it is the exponent that goes with that 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We moved it 4 places. So when we write it in scientific notation, it's 4.5450 times 10 to the 10th. On the other hand, for numbers that are less than 1, we're going to move the decimal to the right. And we're going to stop after the first non-zero digit. So, for example, here's our number. We're going to move our decimal place until it's to the right of a non-zero digit. So 1, 2, 3. And since we're moving it to the right, it's going to be a negative number. So negative 3. So let's practice. Convert this number to scientific notation. So what did you get? It's a number that's larger than 1, so we're going to move our decimal to the left 1, 2, 3, 4 places, and we are going to get 4.5700 times 10 to the 10th. How about this practice? That number is smaller than 1, so we're going to move our decimal place to the right. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to get 9.00 times 10 to the minus third. What about this one? This number is larger than 1, so we're going to start at the end and we're going to move to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's our answer. Okay. Now, how do we go the other way? How do we convert from scientific notation to standard notation? Well, you're going to move the decimal place the number of times it's indicated by the exponent. You're going to move the decimal place to the right if the number is positive, if the exponent is positive. You're going to move it to the left if the exponent is negative. So, let's try one of these. So, 4.5 times 10 to the minus second. The exponent is negative, so we're going to move it to the left, and we're going to move it to the left 2 places. So 1, 2, and we get 0.045. So let's try this practice. What'd you get? Okay, so our decimal point is here. Our exponent is negative, so we move it to the left. We move it to the left 4 places. When we do that, we get that as our answer. What about this one? Our exponent is positive, so we're going to move it to the right 3 places. And we get this, 9,600. What about this one? Again, our exponent is positive, so we're going to move to the right. We're going to move to the right 2 places, and we get 807. Awesome. Now what about when we have to calculate using scientific notation in a calculator? This is what most students have problems with, is typing these questions into your calculator. So let's look. Type on your calculator 5.44, and you're either, depending on what calculator you're going to have, you're either going to hit EXP or EE, and then 7. The EXP and the EE button deal with your times 10. You have to tell it with power. Divided by 8.10 EXP or EE to the 4th. And when you do that, you hit enter and you should get 671.60493. This is what's going to take you practice. So try this, try this, try this. We have calculators in the room, so when you come in, you have to try these. Because if you do not type this into your calculator right, you will never get the right answer. And a lot of you are going to try and use those carets, times 10 to a caret. You can't do that. Okay, if we were to round for correct sig figs, because this number has 3 significant figures, and this number has 3 significant figures, we get 672. Or if we were going to write it in scientific notation, it would be 6.72 times 10 squared. So let's look at this practice. Type this in, pause it, type this in, and then unpause it when you're ready. All right, when you type this in, you should have gotten this. If you have questions about this, we'll talk about it tomorrow. What about this one? Pause this and answer this one. What'd you get? If you typed it in correctly, you should have gotten 2.2575 times 10 to the 13th. Remember, you have to type these in. You have to do these on your own. I cannot help you when you take a quiz and go through this with you. You have to practice typing these in. So let's look at these two, check your understandings, and we're going to go over this first thing tomorrow morning. Here's the first one, and here's the second one. Have a good night.